When did making plans get this complicated? It's time to streamline with WhatsApp, the secure messaging app that brings the whole group together. Use polls to settle dinner plans. Send event invites and pin messages so no one forgets Mom's 60th. And never miss a meme or milestone. All protected with end-to-end encryption. It's time for WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone. Learn more at whatsapp.com.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Checking off the boxes on your to-do list is a great feeling. And when it comes to checking off coverage, a State Farm agent can help you choose an option that's right for you. Whether you prefer talking in person, on the phone, or using the award-winning app, it's nice knowing you have help finding coverage that best fits your needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Lowe's knows how to get you ready for holiday hosting with up to 35% off select home decor. And get up to 35% off select major appliances. Plus, members get free delivery, haul away, basic installation, parts, and a 2-year Lowe's protection plan when you spend $2,500 or more on select LG major appliances. Valid through 10/1. Member offer excludes Massachusetts, Maryland, Wisconsin, New Jersey, and Florida. Installed by independent contractors. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for more details.
Hello and welcome to the 1865 match report as we reflect on Nottingham Forest's 2-2 draw with Real Betis in the opening game of their Europa League campaign. We waited 30 years to see the Reds back in European competition and it was well worth it. And Postecoglou's side produced some scintillating football at times in Seville and overcame an early goal from the hosts to lead 2-1. However, a late equaliser from Antony meant that Forest had to settle for a draw in the end. I'm Stephen Toplis and I'm joined by Tom Newton, who has not long arrived back from his trip to Spain. You spent a couple of days out there, Tom, and you were also at the game. Just tell us what the experience was like.
Well, I waited like 30 years for this. And if anybody has got me as a friend on Facebook, I put a big post on this morning basically saying, as a fan base, we deserve that. We've been to shit and back, haven't we? Obviously, I don't want to harp on about all our histories in the last 30 years, but it's been a bit grim, hasn't it? So, yeah, going to Seville, travelled out on Tuesday and just a phenomenal experience following your hometown club in Europe. Sampling a different culture, etc. Just phenomenal. It's like on bucket list of the thing to do to follow your football club, and then I won't forget it for a long while because some of the experiences over the last 3 days or so has been phenomenal, and we definitely deserved it. And Seville's a lovely city, so just and the weather was really nice as well, so made the trip even better.
Yeah, it looked and sounded fantastic. All the videos and clips of people out in Seville, thousands of Forest fans, and hearing you in the stadium as well, watching the game on TV coming through loud and clear, really was a proud moment and an incredible night. But let's get into the football and we'll start with the team news on the night. A couple of changes that Ange Postecoglou made. So Chris Wood dropped out. He was replaced by Igor Jesus. More on him a bit later. We also had Douglas Luiz in the starting 11. And it meant that we had a team with Matz Sels in goal, a back four of Nico Williams, Nikola Milenkovic, Morato and Alexander Zinchenko. In midfield, it was Ibrahim Sangare, Douglas Luiz and Elliot Anderson. And Callum Hudson-Odoi on the left wing. Morgan Gibbs-White playing out on the right is slightly more inverted. And then Igor Jesus up front through the middle. What were your thoughts on that team news, Tom? Did you think that was the right approach from Ange?
I think when you're playing, you've got to be a bit pragmatic, haven't you? And I think it was looking at the team. I think it was a decent blend. It was just a matter of like who's going to play where. But you had like the real energetic midfield with Anderson, Sangare, Luiz. And you've got Hudson-Odoi and Morgan Gibbs-White. You know what them about. I was slightly surprised. Well, no, tell a lie. I was happy to see him in the side, Igor Jesus, because I thought he had a really good first half display against Swansea, where he got his first 2 goals for us. Had a really good display when he come on against Burnley at the weekend. So I think he deserved his spot to start, and we'll talk about him in a bit. But yeah, I think the back four picks itself at the moment, because obviously we haven't got many choices there with Murillo currently out. And so, yeah, looking at it, I think it was just a decent blend of like speed, experience, and youth in there. So, yeah, I thought and pretty bold. I wouldn't say bold, but I think it was like really looking at it now, having watched the game and dissected it and everything. I think it was a decent selection, to be honest, from him.
And in terms of how the game started from Forest's point of view, they looked reasonably comfortable in the opening minutes and were knocking the ball around pretty well. But it was Betis who got the opening goal, and it was scored by Cedric Bakambu, very experienced striker in Europe. I think that was his 22nd goal in Europe. But let's just talk about how that goal came about. 15 minutes in, and it was a long ball over the top, which caught the Forest defence out. The ball picked up by Bakambu. It worked its way to Antony, who then fed it back to Bakambu inside the box. He rifled it into the roof of the net for 1-0. And while it was a high-quality finish, Tom, I think a few Forest players could look at that goal and think they should have done better.
Yeah, I think when you look back, I mean, Morata's been dragged out by Bakambu. And Zinchenko, you just want him... I don't want to criticise him too much, but because he's had a phenomenal career with being at Arsenal and Man City and representing Ukraine, but I just thought he was like in no man's land. And then obviously Antony fed the ball into Bakambu, and he's hit it quite well. But whether some might argue Sels might have done a bit better, but if you look at it, it's a bit all over the place, isn't it? Morata's gone into a position where he doesn't really want to be because his left back's not there, and yeah, I think it was against the run of play, to be honest, because I thought Forest started really well. I thought because of that, obviously, that first game in Europe, you think it's going to be a bit like rabbit in headlights moment kind of thing. You might like freeze on the big stage kind of thing, because obviously you don't want to let anybody down. But I thought Forest played really well, like you've alluded to. They knocked the ball around really well, but it's just one of those things that happen when you're playing on European stages. That there might be just like a moment where it comes back to bite you on the backside. But after that, I thought Forest applied themselves really, really well and just carried on what they were doing. And we'll talk about it in a second. But yeah, I just thought it was a bit harsh on Forest in terms of how they started the game, but it happens, doesn't it? And I think we were just a bit all over the place regarding the goal. Like players weren't picking up the runners and they scored from it.
But yeah, great credit to Forest in that situation, because like you say, we kept playing our football. We didn't allow ourselves to be overawed by the occasion or going a goal down so early. And it was only a couple of minutes later that Forest responded. And it was a really nice move involving, first of all, Morato to Callum Hudson-Odoi. He fed it to Zinchenko on the edge of the box, who had a lovely first-time layoff to Elliot Anderson. Then Douglas Luiz, and then it goes to Morgan Gibbs-White out on the right-hand side. He picks the ball up and plays an inch-perfect ball across the face of goal for Igor Jesus to tap in. And the finish was quite easy, really, for a striker in the position that he was. But the build-up and everything that made that goal possible from everybody was superb.
Yeah, talent, craftsmanship, and how they've worked the angles and everything. And I know we're probably like not used to this handball at the moment, and obviously last season it was a matter of like camping in and hit teams on the break, and obviously we got found out towards the end of the season, hence why there was a drop off. But that kind of goal, like intricate passing, yeah, just brilliant. You're just like thinking, I hope Forest haven't like played one past too many here, but like they worked it to Gibbs White, and he can't miss, can he, Jesus? And we're obviously there's limbs in that upper tier was miles away from the pitch with netting in front of us. But yeah, we really deserve that goal. Like I said earlier about where we've been up and down the UK, going to shithole to shithole kind of thing, watching crap football after crap football. So yes, to score our first goal in like 30 odd years in European football. Yeah, just absolutely delirium in that upper tier of the away section.
I wonder what it was like 4 minutes later then when Forest scored again, and it was Jesus with a second goal, and it came from a corner swung in by Douglas Luiz, a really good quality delivery, and Jesus was there, headed it low and powerfully past the goalkeeper into the net. Forest 2-1 up, and within the space of 4 minutes had completely turned the game on its head.
Yeah, it's a fantastic ball in by Douglas Luiz. And if you watch the highlights back, Milenkovic just like comes in and he just like gets in the way of like a couple of Real Betis players, and then obviously Jesus just peels off the back of their number 4, and I can't remember his name now, but he didn't have a bad game actually, and obviously he's nodded it past Paolo Lopez, and yeah, absolute mayhem in that upper tier, and all the Real Betis fans are like giving it like gestures and things like that, but yeah, it was just bodies, and honestly we couldn't believe it kind of thing, thinking what, only like 6 or 7 minutes earlier kind of thing, we was like 1-0 down, now we're 2-1 up kind of thing, and after that we still played some really, really good football. I mean, we was unlucky to hit the post from Callan, and it was just a matter of like, come on, let's score a third, because if we would have scored a third, I think it would have shut Real Betis fans up, because every time we was like knocking the ball around, they were obviously like whistling us, trying to get underneath our skin, and in that first half, Forest just like knocking it around with like real composure kind of thing. It was just a joy to watch.
And it was in this period of the game that Forest were putting together a number of fantastic moves, and it was a combination of good quality passing football, but the pressure that they were putting on Betis, keeping them camped in their own half, relentless pressure after pressure. It was incredible to be watching it. I was almost like, am I watching a Forest team here? This is like something from another world, and it just felt like it was going to be a matter of time before we got the third goal. Unfortunately, it didn't quite happen, but Jesus came close on 2 more occasions to scoring. We'll talk about the first one. It comes from really good play again between Elliot Anderson. Initially swings a ball in. It comes to nothing, but the pressure Jesus puts on means that Betis can't get the ball away. Forest recycle it, finds its way back to Anderson. He gets it to Hudson-Odoi, and Forest just keep putting the pressure on. Anderson picks the ball up, sends a couple of players for a dummy, puts it across goal, and but for a great bit of defending by one of the Betis players, Jesus has got another tap in, and he was so close there to making it 3-1.
Yeah, but since he's joined us, obviously in the games what we've seen, he's been brilliant. He just doesn't stop running. He wins balls in the air where he's got no right to win, and he's hold up playing and everything. He's going to be a really, really good player for us. He's just got that's something different, what we probably haven't had for a long, long while, where he's going to use his body, etc., and his positioning for like getting on the end of things, and he's just his overall intelligence. Yeah, he's going to be a really, really good player. So, yeah, it was like you say, it's just going to be a matter of time. We thought that Forest going to score like a third and hopefully a fourth, but sadly it didn't happen. And I come to a half time, and the lads got absolutely applauded off. Every fan was on their feet, like thinking this is absolutely brilliant kind of thing. And yeah, it's just a really, really enjoyable first half.
The other big chance that Forest had in the first half came from another corner, swung in from the other side, this time by Zinchenko. It's a great delivery right into the middle of the 6-yard box. On first viewing, it looked like it had come off Jesus and hit the post, but it's actually Callum Hudson-Odoi who gets the touch. And had he not got that touch, it might have been a simple tap-in for Jesus coming in at the back post. But Forest really unlucky there and so close to making it 3. And that was 32 minutes into the game and some 16 minutes since Forest equalised. That period of pressure and the quality of football Forest produced in that time was just something else. And it was almost capped off by them going 3-1 up. And like you say, I think that would have killed the game off at that point.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think it would have flattered us, really. And people have been saying like Betis, like along with us, because obviously about squad value, they're one of the favourites. But if they're one of the other favourites, and how Forest are playing, and let's say it's 3 weeks into the Ange revolution, we're only going to get better in my eyes with obviously more sessions and obviously Ange getting his points across of how he wants us to play, and hopefully if we can show it up at the other end kind of thing, and obviously be more comfortable on the ball. And it's that old adage, isn't it? If you've got the ball and the opposition can't hurt you. If this is week 3 in the next few weeks, we're hopefully just going to get better. And like I said earlier, you haven't seen Forest play like this for years and years and years. Probably not in my lifetime. And I mean, when Cloughy left in '93, I mean, I didn't really see these team in the '70s, always a second great team in the '80s. But looking at videos, I don't think even they played like that, how we played last night. So obviously got Michelin next week and everything, and obviously Porto, Ferencváros, Graz, Utrecht, pretty good tongue kind of thing, because of the squad what we've got and the quality, we've got the ability to hurt any team in this competition, and generally do think that.
Yeah, if this is Ange ball, sign me up. It was utterly breathless stuff in full flow, and the way that Forest have produced spells of football like that so soon into Ange Postecoglou's time at the club does fill me with a lot of hope for what this team can do with even more time together and even more time for the manager to work with the players. But at halftime, it was Real Betis 1, Forest 2.
The 1865 match report.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
Welcome back to this 1865 match report. So let's go into the second half now, Tom. And at the break, Forest made a change. Douglas Luiz came off and he was replaced by Delane Bakwa. And at the time, this did look like a bit of a strange move because it was taking away a midfielder, bringing on an attacker. And the worry was that Forest would lose control in the middle of the park. And we since know now that Douglas Luiz had picked up a bit of a strain. So it was more of a preventative move from Ange, which is completely understandable in the circumstances. But yeah, those fears around Forest losing control in the midfield, it came to pass in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, up until you just mentioned about Douglas Luiz, we didn't actually know what, because obviously being in Spain and everything, you can't get the same content than what you would get in England because of like YouTube and this, that and the other, being in certain locations. So yeah, I thought, why we're taking him off, and obviously now, but there's this thing which has got my back up with Forest over like years, in terms of when you're in the ascendancy, we don't carry on doing the same things. So, like, seasons gone past, you've had like start the game really well and everything, don't get that goal, sit back and you invite pressure from the other team. And like last night, we're playing really well in that system and everything. We took the game to Real Betis, was really comfortable, 2-1 up, and then he changes it. And like you say, I think we lost a bit of shape in that midfield because obviously Luiz, Anderson, Sangari, they just nullified the threat from Real Betis. And I think with Luiz coming off and the influence he had, I think it just gave the bit of the game back to Betis, kind of thing. And I don't think we got that foothold in the midfield, especially second half kind of thing. I can see why he did it, putting Morgan in there and obviously back on the right kind of thing. But I just thought Morgan was doing some good stuff out on the right kind of thing. So whether he could have brought Yates on, but obviously he's been absolutely berated by certain quarters of the fan base kind of thing. So whether he wasn't an option and kind of thing, and probably like let him come on and see the game out. So yeah, I thought it was a bit strange, but we know now. But I just think it just gave Betis a bit of impetus in the game, and they got control, and we didn't get that third goal.
Betis made a couple of changes at half time as well, and I think that played a part. They brought on Rodrigo Riquelme, who looks lively, and the experienced Swiss defender Ricardo Rodriguez, and their manager Manuel Pellegrini. I think he's 72 now, isn't he? So he's a wily old coach. He's been around the block, and it showed with the substitutions he made, because I think they played a part in Betis coming back into the game in the second half and causing more problems for Forest.
Yeah, like you said, Pellegrini's been around the block, and I was looking when I was waiting in the departure lounge of his career kind of thing, and obviously he's been to like Real Madrid, Man City, Malaga. He's been around the block, but one of the jobs that I'm surprised he's never got is because he's from Chile. He's never got the Chilean national job, but like he says, he's been around the block, and he knows how to navigate a football match, doesn't he? So yeah, I think some of what we made probably like hampered us a bit of how he was playing, and obviously galvanised Betis, and they got into the game and bringing, like you say, Rodriguez on, who's had a bit of distinguished career around Europe and played in numerous European competitions, etc. for whatever club he's played at in Switzerland. So yeah, they were bringing some real experience on, weren't they? And obviously with Riquelme coming on, he does look quite a decent player. He does.
Yeah, and in that second half, Betis just had more of the play, more momentum behind them. They didn't create a glut of chances, and Matz Sels didn't have to make many saves, but you did feel like Forest were on the back foot, and at times they were struggling. Despite that, though, we did have a couple of chances. We had a cross from the left from Callum Hudson-Odoi, which Bakwa ran onto into the box and fired well over the bar. It was a difficult opportunity, in fairness to him, with the ball dropping down. Ange then made a couple of changes. He brought down Ndoi and Arnaud Kalimuendo on. And it was Kalimuendo, not long after he entered the field, actually, who had a big chance for Forest to make it 3-1. Played in by Zinchenko, when he could have actually fed the ball wide for Ndoi at the same time. But he found Kalimuendo, but his first touch was left wanting, and a great chance came to nothing in the end.
Yeah, like I said, I watched the highlights back, and when the ball got played into him, I thought he was in, watching it live. And yeah, Zinchenko, yeah, it's a really good pass. And yeah, it's an awful touch, isn't it? Let's be honest, it's like, for a play, you've spent 30 odd million, and obviously he's desperate to get that first goal for Forest, but first in whatever competition he can play in at the moment, like i.e. Premier League or Europa League. But yeah, one touch, he should have smashed that. Or if a striker with confidence, he sits in that first time. If that's Chris Wood, he's probably scoring that. If it's Jesus, he's probably scoring that. Kelly Mwende, a lot of his shots at the moment have like either been saved or blocked. So it's just unfortunate for him, wasn't it? So then backwards chance earlier where he just slashed at it, hasn't he? He hasn't really, he hasn't really justified himself in that situation, has he? If obviously he could have brought it down or whatever, but again, it's just you have a split second to decide what you want to do, and both players did neither, and hence why we didn't score the goal.
And after that, Betis continued to put pressure on. They went close with an opportunity from Pablo Fornals, the ex-West Ham player. It came from a loose bit of possession by Sangare, giving the ball away. It found its way to Fornals, who, from the far right-hand side, fired a powerful shot at goal, which flew wide, but actually was deflected wide, although Forest were given the goal kick on that occasion. But let's now talk about the goal, Tom. It came with just a couple of minutes to go, 84 minutes on the clock, in fact. And it comes from Antony, a player who, during his time with Manchester United, didn't look like much of a footballer. I must admit, he does look a lot better now. He's playing for Betis, and he was always a threat. And in the end, he was the one that found the equaliser for them.
Yeah, a bit disappointed with this goal. It's just, if you watch it back kind of thing, I don't want to criticise him too much, but just at the moment, I don't know about Dan Doy. I think he's shown like glimpses of what he can do. Obviously, the goal and assist in his first two games, but I just think at the moment getting knocked off the ball, and he's not really having that confidence to beat his fullback or whatever. And when the cross comes in, he can see Antony, and he does absolutely nothing. You can just see him on the edge of the box, and you're like thinking, you got to get closer. You got to engage with Antony, and like you just said, Antony is a decent player. I mean, not many players come into Man United, perform, and leave a better player. I'm sorry, yeah, not many players go into Man United and obviously leaving a good legacy at the moment. And Antony's, like I say, he's gone to Betis, and he's their best player by a country mile in my eyes on last night's showing, and he took his goal really well. But yeah, if there's a bit of communication, if Dan Doy engages with him and gets himself in and around him, he might not be having that shot, because on another day that flashes wide, he just got it inside the post, hasn't he? But yeah, I just think it's just whether it's a confidence thing or change of culture, footballing culture, I don't know, but it's been a bit of a frustration figure. And watching that, I'm like thinking, come on, you got to do a bit for the team here.
Yeah, and I think there were question marks over Zinchenko with that goal as well. He looks as if he was letting the ball go and didn't really deal with it and didn't deal with what was going on around him, and he let the ball go, and that's how it found its way to Antony. He still had a fair bit to do, in fairness, but produced the finish to make it 2-2. I mean, I must admit at that point I was fearful that Betis would go on and get another and win the game, which would have been cruel on Forest, considering how well we'd played in the first half.
Yeah, I think Zinchenko could have done a lot better. I just think when he's on the ball, he's brilliant, and when he gets into like really decent positions in terms of inverted fullback, I mean that pass what he put in for Kalimuendo a second ago, he has got the ability, but defensively we did get warned by like Man City fans and obviously Andrew from Ukraine Football on the podcast a couple of weeks ago about his defensive frailties, and we've seen him twice now, haven't we, in back-to-back games against Burnley and last night against Real Betis. Yeah, I just think he could do a lot better. And like I said, he's a phenomenal footballer on the ball. I just think off it, he's just a bit wanting at times. And but I just think if there's a bit better communication all around, and Dan Doy actually notices the danger and obviously reacts to it, then that goal could be preventable. But having said that, I don't want to be all doom and gloom, because Forest were phenomenal last night with how they were playing and knocking the ball around, which with such confidence with Elliot Anderson. We've obviously mentioned no end of times he's a fantastic footballer, and I think he's getting noticed more and more in the national media. I think Joe Cole last night says, no disrespect, but Forest have got a battle on their hands to keep Elliot Anderson beyond this season, because he's that good of a footballer. And on current form, he's got to be in top 5 forming midfielders in Europe at the moment. And but yeah, I just think in that second half with the changes and everything, and probably losing that light little bit in midfield, I think it was just a sense of inevitability as it went on to the latter stages. We just lost that bit of focus, and hence why they scored. And yeah, we'll mention about Dan Dory's not engaging, and Alexander Zinchenko, etc. But it's a really good finish, and Antony was probably their best player last night. But at the start of the game, first European away trip since Bayern Munich 30 years ago when they actually won the competition, I think Forest I think it was like a little mark in the sand, wasn't it? Saying we can compete with the very best in this competition, and I can't wait for the next games. I know we've got Michelin next week, haven't we? And obviously got Sturm Graz away, Utrecht, Braga in the next few months. So yeah, I think we're in our rightful place because obviously we won the European Cup. But I know it's like nearly 50 years ago now, kind of thing, and UEFA Cup, and obviously got done by Anderlecht in '84. So yeah, this last night was like an away trip for the generations, wasn't it? In terms of where we've been and hopefully the direction of travel where we're going in terms of progressing this football club. Because it was just an honour to actually be inside that stadium last night with fellow Forest fans that have obviously suffered over the years, friends and family. Yeah, just phenomenal experience. And if any fan is lucky enough to get a ticket to the next game to view and like whatever membership, yeah, do go because yeah, it's an absolute phenomenal experience following the club in Europe.
Yeah, very special occasions indeed, and it's great to see Forest back on a European stage like this one as well. It's been a long time coming. Just a final couple of bits to wrap up the game. A few minutes before Betis equalised, Ryan Yates came on for Ibrahim Sangare, which I think was the right move. Sangare was flagging, having put in a really good shift on the night. Ryan Yates came on to stabilise things in midfield, and that was a good moment for him as well because he's played in all 4 divisions of the Football League, got his way into the Premier League, and he's now playing European football in the Europa League. That's great for Ryan and a proud moment for the club as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously he's had his penalties in recent weeks. I've been one of those who I just think with Ryan's, you can't fault his endeavours, his leadership, his determination, his professionalism. But sometimes I think he's better in some games than not some others. And yeah, I think it's a phenomenal achievement. Obviously, been National League, he's gone through the leagues. Obviously, he's been out at Scunthorpe and Notts County, etc. And he's served a really good apprenticeship, and it's a real hallmark for the academy, saying, "There's the benchmark. I go and do what Ryan's done, even not, if not do it better," kind of thing. Because obviously, I know it's hard being in the Premier League, obviously blooding youngsters, but if you're good enough, you're going to be old enough, and you will get a chance at this club if you're of a certain talent. And I think there's some in the academy at the moment who probably can, in the next couple of years, you might see him more and more in the first team. I think is it Jimmy Sinclair? He looks a decent talent. So yeah, I think Ryan set the benchmark, hasn't he? Of obviously, there it is, going excel kind of thing. So, but yeah, going back to the player who he replaced, I think there's a narrative at the moment that, and it's been like it for a good couple of years now regarding Sangare. And let's not forget, he's come from Dutch football. He's had quite a few injury problems along the way. He's had malaria, etc. And because we've spent 30 million quid on him, everybody expects him to be up and down, score 30 goals a season. He's not that kind of player. But if you watch how he played last night, I thought he was phenomenal. I mean, you mentioned that he was flagging towards the end, but players are like that. It's like tired minds, aren't they? They might want to play a pass, but it doesn't come off because obviously they're mentally knackered and as well as physically knackered. And his stats don't lie, do they? I think he won 4 out of 5 duels last night. His passing success rate was 89%, which is higher than Douglas Luiz and Elliot Anderson. So the stats don't lie. But I just think because some Forest fans are trying to pigeonhole him into being this type of midfielder, which he isn't, and that's the stick to beat him with. But yeah, I thought he was brilliant last night, and they really complemented each other really well, Douglas Luiz and Elliot Anderson. And in certain games, I know they're not all going to play all together because obviously you've got to be a bit flexible with obviously Premier Leagues playing against certain types of teams in the Premier League. Then obviously the demands of Europe, but yeah, especially the first half, Ibrahim Sangare last night was phenomenal in my eyes.
On top of the good things you mentioned there as well, he made some key interceptions. He won the ball back for Forest. on a couple of occasions and helped to relieve some of the pressure and get us out of trouble. And that side of his game as well, there's a real composure there, which again seems to be overlooked.
Yeah, he gets the ball and the first thing he wants to do, which is brilliant for any midfielder, that he wants to play through the lines. He wants to play that forward pass into feet. And that's a sign of a very good footballer. Rather than playing it safe, playing it back, playing it to your fullback, he wants to put the ball behind, obviously, their midfield line early. And he was doing that time and time again last night. And it wasn't just last night, he's done it in other games as well. And I really like him. And I just think Forest fans just need to lay off him and obviously support him and the team, because, like I said, he is a good player and the stats don't lie.
We had one final change for Forest in injury time. Nikola Milenkovic limped off. It was a little bit of a scare to see him going off like that, but it looks like it was just cramp, so he should be okay for Sunderland this weekend. He was replaced by Willy Bolly for the final few minutes, but the game played out to a 2-2 draw. And I think on the basis of the second half, I think Forest will be pleased that they came away with a point. They were certainly worth it based on the first half performance and probably deserved more from the game based solely on that first half performance. But looking at it with the bigger picture, we've gone away to one of the favourites for this competition. It's arguably our most difficult fixture of this league stage. We've had it first up, got it out the way and come away with a point. That's not bad, all things considered.
No, I mean, at the start of the game last night, when you're going walking to the stadium, and obviously Real Betis are a massive football club. I know they're not like a Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, but they're up there. And I don't think they've won La Liga. I'm not sure if they've won it, or I know it's always obviously the Madrid clubs or Barcelona, etc. But that fan base, there was like, 52,000 Betis fans there last night, and it's not their home ground, because obviously their home ground is being renovated at the moment. So we knew walking there was going to be a hard game, and I think any Forest fan last night says, what do you think the score will be? And I was speaking to a couple of lads in the bars and says, what do you think the score will be? And says, well, it'd be a really hard game, but if we come away with a point, it's a great start. And that's what we've done. On the balance of it, you think, oh, it's 2-1 up with so many minutes to go, and obviously it's 2-2, and it might be the connotations, did we bottle it, did we do this, did we do that? But no Forest player froze last night. Obviously they rose to the occasion. We were proud of them. They were proud of us, because obviously the reception, what we got, they were thankful of our support and everything. And as we go deeper into the competition, obviously it's going to be a two-way street in terms of they want the support from us and we want the performances on the pitch. So yeah, like I said earlier, we're going to get better with Ange and everything. And yeah, it's just going to be a really exciting European campaign.
The 1865 Match Report.
At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality walking shoes, which might lead to another discovery.
40,000 steps, baby! Who's on top now, Karen?
You've taken the office step challenge a step too far. Don't worry, though. Sierra also has yoga gear. It might be a good place to find your zen. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
Let's focus on a couple of individual performances now, and we've spoken already about Ibrahim Sangare, but I want to come to Igor Jesus. 2 goals last night. He could have had more. He scored twice against Swansea a week ago. That means in 2 halves of football, he scored 4 goals. Has he played himself into the team against Sunderland this weekend?
Definitely. And you just want to hope he plays 75 minutes, because if he plays 75 minutes and he's on his current form, we might win the game. So, but yeah, I really like him. I was a bit like that with him, because obviously coming from Botafogo, no disrespect to them, but you're thinking, can he carry that on into the Premier League, which is obviously ruthless, then obviously the European campaign. I really like him. He gets himself in some really good position. He can hold the ball up. There was a ball got played up to him last night, and he had no right to win it in the air, and he's flicked the ball on. Well, I know it didn't go to a Forest player, but he was up against their centre half, and number 4. I can't remember his name now, but yeah, he had no right to win it, and he won it. So yeah, I think he's on current form. No, this is no detriment to Chris Wood and what he can do, but I think at the moment Igor Jesus is started for me.
He seems to fit in well with Ange's style of play. And you won't have heard this, Tom, but on the commentary last night, Darren Fletcher compared him to Carlos Tevez for that energy and that busyness he brings up front. And you can see the comparison, can't you? The way he plays the game.
Yeah, and obviously that kind of like perspective on how he plays football is only going to endear him to Forest fans in terms of, I know people says, oh, of certain players in the past, oh, he puts the effort in. Well, that's, if you don't put the effort in, you've got no right to be a footballer. That is a basic. And he does that with obviously his running, his effort and everything, but he's got quality as well. And he's only going to get better as he gets more and more used to Ange's way of playing, and obviously the players around him, and he can finish as well. I mean, people are saying, oh, it's only attacking, but he's still got to be in that place to tap that ball in. And there's many strikers we've had in the past who probably like hide behind the defender and don't get on the end of it. And he's got on the end of it 4 times in the last week, and it's just unfortunate for him and us that he hasn't been on the winning side yet with the efforts he's been putting in.
Yeah, and the way he settled in quickly, coming from Brazilian football into Europe, he's hit the ground running, scored a couple of goals already early into his Forest career. And I think it's good for Chris Wood as well, not only to have the competition, but to have the opportunity to give him some rest, because we all said it last season, had Chris Wood got injured, our season could have fallen apart, because we would have had, with all due respect, Taiwo Awoniyi, who hasn't been at the same level for a few seasons now. We have got depth with Jesus and potentially Callum Wendo as well. And it's important that we can take some of the load off Chris Wood. And we've got a few different options now up front as well.
Yeah, and it's probably like the first time in a long, long while that we've got different players in terms of what they can bring you. Obviously, we all know what Chris Wood's about. And obviously, how Igor Jesus has played in the last few games, and Callum Wendo probably just needs that goal to like calm him down a bit and obviously gets that confidence. So, yeah, they've all got a bit what they can give us, but it's different, isn't it? And yeah, and obviously Chris Wood, I think he's 34 in December, and obviously he's a proud Kiwi, so obviously he's not going to turn down international duty. So he's obviously going to be jetting to New Zealand quite a few times in the next few months, unless they play continental Europe, because obviously the distance of travelling, whether that's going to happen, I don't know, but. Yeah, but it's nice to, like you say, take the workload off him. He's not getting any younger, and obviously, but he will still be a valuable member this season.
And another word as well for Elliot Anderson. Last night was a great performance again from him. He seems to be getting better by the game. He's got into the England team now. The way he's playing, he's going to be starting in America next summer, let alone what else he'll do for Forest over the course of this season. He's looking one of the best players in Europe. And I was sat there last night watching him and just thinking, what a privilege it is to have a player like Elliot Anderson in a Forest shirt.
Definitely. I mean, that spot next to Declan Rice is up for grabs a couple of weeks ago. But in my eyes, Elliot Anderson's the man. And if he carries on this form, he's going to be a definite starter in America in the World Cup next year. And he deserves it. And there's no hero graces, is there, with Elliot Anderson? He's not a rant or a rave or anything like that. He just lets his football do the talking, and he's like an absolute privilege to watch, and he is a very, very special player. And I just hope that we can have him for next season at the very least, because yeah, that kid's going to the absolute top, and whether we can compete to keep him here when you've got the likes of Man City, Liverpool, etc., who knows? But yeah, he's a phenomenal footballer, and it's just a pleasure to have him in our Forest shirt.
And let's have some final reflections on this game. And looking at it 24 hours on, while it's disappointing that we couldn't capitalise on some of the brilliant football and the chances we created in the first half, to come back into Europe after 30 years and deliver a performance like that with the confidence and with the ability that Forest showed, it's got me really excited for what we can do in this tournament and just how far we can go.
Yeah, definitely. as me and you, Stephen, are like, could remember 30 years ago when we got absolutely smashed by Bayern Munich, and I think 10 of the players what played last night actually won Euro 96 with Germany, which was held in England that year, and you just had a sense that Forest probably could hit a ceiling here, and obviously that was 30 years ago, and we never got to Europe in that 30-year period, but we're back now. We've got Mr. Marinakis' ambition and drive, and a special mention to his obviously co-owner, Mr. Koumanakis, who was in and around Seville yesterday, and my brother was in a bar with quite a few Forest fans, and he settled a €900 bar bill, and some of the lads who unfortunately didn't get tickets, he sorted them out with hospitality tickets. So you can't fault that from Mr. Koumanakis, and the whole experience from a fan perspective was brilliant. Forest, their operation from arriving on Tuesday, obviously telling fans this is where you get your tickets and everything. Just a seamless operation, and the information what Forest were providing were absolutely brilliant, and just everybody had an enjoyable experience. And so, special mention to Walter Hood and his colleagues. They made it a really, really special occasion, and they got all the planning to an absolute team. Obviously, the help of Simon Travell, who was Simon Travell, who's the obviously football officer for Notts Police. He was there as well, and some of his colleagues. And Forest really excelled over the last few days as part of organisers. So fair play to the club.
And it's all those little things that go on in the background that make such a difference. And like you say, they add to the experience, and it's enabled fans like yourself to go over and have a really enjoyable time and really make the most of a European trip for the first time in a generation, which is great to see. And top marks to Forest for that. The European adventure continues next Thursday when we play Midtjylland at home, our first European game at the City Ground for 29 years. But before that, on Saturday dinner time, it is Sunderland at 5:30 at the City Ground. And on the face of it, Tom, it's a game that Forest should be looking to win with the quality that we've got and the fact that Sunderland are a newly promoted team. And if Forest can turn up and play like they did in Betis, they've every chance of winning that.
Definitely. I think it's a must win, because it's all right like playing really good football, but if you're not getting wins on the board in any competition, obviously the pressure cranks up, and the media will be waiting for answers in terms of, you've been playing this football, but you're not getting a win and everything. So I think he's desperate for a win. And like you said, Sunderland, a newly promoted club, and all the promoted clubs have done themselves justice so far, haven't they, in the Premier League? I think they've all won at least one, haven't they, which makes a change, because some of the teams won't come up. It's like you wait until like January before they get quite a few points on the board, and then obviously we're like wishing them to make sure they get to 12 points to beat Derby's record kind of thing. So it's I think it's must win for Ange, and obviously you don't want to be embroiled in low reaches of the Premier League. I'm not saying a relegation battle at the moment, because obviously it's still early days, but you want to obviously keep your head above water, and you don't want to get involved in that situation down there. So we've got to start looking up rather than downwards. And Sunderland, no disrespect to them, but newly promoted club, and Forest are red hot favourites, wouldn't they be? So, and obviously there'd be a bit of squad rotation, because obviously last night's game would have probably took it out of the players, and obviously got Murillo coming back. I don't think last night he just didn't make it, did he? So I think there'll be some rotation, but we've got to win that game on Saturday.
And we will have our match report after the Sunderland game for you, so do make sure that you look out for that one. Thank you, Tom, for joining me, and I'm glad that you've had a fantastic trip out to Spain, and you can now go and get some sleep and and a bit of recovery. We will be back with you after the Sunderland game. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Doug. Here we have the Limu Emu in its natural habitat, helping people customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Fascinating. It's accompanied by his natural ally, Doug.
Limu, is that guy with the binoculars watching us?
Cut the camera. They see us.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.